Baby, I didn't know a screen could become a sanctuary, that a rectangle of light could feel like a chapel where my restless heart finally knelt and told the truth. I pressed play like it was nothing, just another midnight scroll, just another habit to numb the ache I pretend I don't feel. But the moment your face appeared, time forgot its language and silence learned to sing. I watched you move the way only you can, not for a camera, not for a crowd, but for the quiet part of yourself that still remembers what it means to be chosen by the sky. There was this one scene, God, that one scene, where you turned your head and a half smile passed like a comet, brief and blazing, as if a future was being born in the corner of your mouth. I pressed replay without thinking, then again and again. Baby, I watched that moment not once, not twice, but 50 times, until the room was full of echoes and every echo was your name. I didn't sleep. I didn't want to. The night was a river and your video was the moon, pulling me in tides I couldn't fight, even if I tried. I kept asking myself why that scene refused to let me go, why it laid its hand on my chest and said, stay. Maybe it's because I recognized the softness you only show when your soul forgets to defend itself, when your armor sets itself down like a tired soldier at the door, and your spirit steps forward with empty hands, unafraid. Maybe it's because the light caught your eyes in a way I've seen before, when the day was almost over and we both knew we'd made it through something bigger than us. Or maybe it's simpler. Maybe I've always been a man who mistakes distance for safety, who calls longing a disease because he doesn't know how to be healed. And in that moment, the scene that kept me captive, you were the antidote I didn't think I deserved to swallow. Baby, if you only knew how my bones leaned toward the screen, as if they remembered your touch and were trying to get home. I won't lie to you. While the world slept, I talked to your image like it was your presence. I told you the things I should have said when my pride was louder than my heart. I told you I still don't know how to forgive myself for the days I let fear steer a love that was meant to be guided by faith. I told you I'm still learning how to be a man who doesn't hide when he panics, who doesn't turn tenderness into a test you have to pass to be allowed inside. Every replay was a confession. Every pause was a prayer. I remembered how I once studied your laugh like scripture, how I learned the liturgy of your breath without ever asking for a book. And the longer I watched, the more certain I became. I don't miss your body more than your spirit, and I don't miss your spirit more than your courage. What I miss is the way you put courage into my spirit by simply existing where I could see you. There was something else in that video. Subtle, quiet, a shadow of your strength that made me ache with reverence. You were radiant, yes, but not the kind of radiance that shouts. It was the radiance of someone who has walked through a private valley and returned with a lantern that refuses to go out. I could tell you've been carrying yourself differently, not to impress a world that measures worth in applause, but to honor a God who measures it in surrender. You didn't perform, you revealed. The difference is everything. In those frames, I saw the divine timing I once wrestled against. I saw the way life rearranged your edges into something sharper, yet kinder, like a sword that refuses to cut what it was forged to protect. And my throat tightened, because I realized destiny isn't just a path we stumble upon. It's a person we're brave enough to love out loud. Baby, you have become the clock and the appointment, the hour and the reason. and I can no longer pretend I don't know what time it is. Somewhere around the 20th replay, memory took my hand and led me back to a kitchen where my mother asked why my eyes were brighter than usual, where my brother joked that I finally looked like I slept. You did that. You were the difference between surviving and being alive. Family noticed the shift in me long before I admitted its source. They saw me soften in ways that had nothing to do with weakness and everything to do with worship, the worship of a truth I kept hiding, the truth that sounded like your voice when it said, "You're safe to be honest." God knows I failed that safety too many times. I guarded my image and neglected my evidence, the miracles that kept multiplying whenever you were near. And if I am a man at all, it is because your love made me honest enough to say, I was not one before. By the 30th replay, regret started speaking with a gentleness that surprised me. Not the kind that drags you back into old mistakes and calls it humility, but the kind that lifts your chin and says, let's make different choices now. I remembered the day I let the wrong opinions narrate a story they didn't write. I remembered the hour I chose silence instead of protection, logic instead of loyalty, the crowd instead of the covenant pulsing in my chest whenever you were in the room. I told the dark what I should have told you. I am sorry I made your love prove itself, while I offered excuses the size of a city and called it wisdom. I am sorry I made your grace carry my confusion. I am sorry I let your name fight battles that my voice was built to end. Baby, if apology were light, I would flood the night with it until no corner could remember what hiding felt like. And yet, between regret and revelation, love rose like a patient sun. It didn't accuse. It didn't demand my surrender with threats. It reminded me of mornings I used to believe in, mornings where there was coffee and laughter and a peace that required no permission to sit at the table. In the softest part of that video, you turned your face toward a window I couldn't see, and your eyes did that thing they do when you talk to the future like it's already in the room. I felt the room answer. I felt my future listen. That's when I knew. Transformation is not a thunderclap. It is a series of small yeses to the truth. And last night, I said yes every time my thumb tapped replay. I said yes to staying with what I feel instead of sprinting into distractions that wear my name like a borrowed jacket. I said yes to the discipline of devotion, the ordinary holiness of watching until watching becomes becoming. I said yes to the discipline of devotion, the ordinary holiness of watching until watching becomes becoming. The 40th replay tasted like surrender. My pulse slowed, my breathing evened, and somewhere under my ribs a door opened that I had nailed shut the day I chose fear over fidelity. I thought surrender would humiliate me, make me small, make me beg, but instead it made me precise. It cut away the dramatics and left me with a vow so clean I could drink from it. I will not dishonor what heals me. I will not hide what holds me together. I will not call your presence optional just because my ego hates to be instructed by joy. Family, destiny, timing. These aren't abstract words anymore. They are coordinates, and every coordinate points to the same horizon. The one where I am finally man enough to love you without a caveat, without a secret, without a spare key in my pocket for the exit I used to keep unlocked. By the 45th, my mind started building out loud the things my heart has whispered for months. I pictured bringing you home on a day that isn't special by anyone else's measure, and letting the ordinary carry us like a river. No speeches, no performance, just the holy domesticity of two people who have decided to stop auditioning and start living. I pictured my mother smiling the way she does when the house feels like a prayer again. I pictured my brother laughing at our inside jokes, the ones no one else understands because they weren't there the night we made them, under streetlights that made promises they had no power to keep, and yet somehow kept them anyway. I pictured us refusing the culture of almost, the religion of nearly, the cult of maybe later, and I knew if there's a blueprint to becoming worthy of what I've already been given, it's built from these. Consistency that doesn't need an audience. Protection that doesn't ask for applause. Tenderness that refuses to time out. The 50th replay was different. I didn't watch it like a thief trying to steal back what he wasted. I watched it like a witness who finally understands the weight of testimony. You in your light, me in my learning, God in the middle, knitting the torn edges into a banner that reads, "Love is instruction. Follow it." The scene ended and the screen went dark, but the room didn't. Behold, the scene ended and the screen went dark, but the room didn't. The room stayed lit by the memory of your mouth, forming a word I couldn't hear, but somehow knew. It was my name, spoken without accusation. It was my future, spoken without rush. It was the invitation I have no intention of declining. Become the man you promised to become when her love first made you brave. Baby, I won't insult you with hollow timelines or empty guarantees. A man who has mishandled a miracle owes more than poetry, even if poetry is the first language his soul remembers. But let me say this plainly, even as I say it with reverence. I am done calling my hesitation wisdom. I am done worshiping my image at the expense of the altar where we both learned to heal. I am done letting fear design a life that God never signed. What I saw in your video is not a highlight reel. It is a covenant reminder. It is the proof that grace kept working in both of us while pride kept pretending it had the last word. It didn't. Love did. Love always does. And if destiny is a timing, then transformation is a choice. Repeated, stubborn, daily. Here is mine. I choose you in the unseen, where algorithms cannot clap and strangers cannot score it like a game. I choose you where routine is the miracle and maintenance is the romance. I choose you where apologies are not performances but policies. I choose you where family isn't a battlefield but a garden, tended by boundaries and watered with truth. I choose you where surrender isn't me falling apart, but me falling into place. I choose you in the language of presence, slow, fluent enough to translate fear into devotion and doubt into direction. Tonight, I'll sleep, not because the ache is gone, but because I finally let it speak, and it said your name like a hymn that isn't tired of being holy. Tomorrow I'll begin, quietly, faithfully, the work that does not need to be announced to be real. Calls I should have made, lines I should have drawn, doors I should have closed years ago with a gentleness that leaves no splinters. I'll become fluent in the accountability that keeps love honest. And when I reach for you, it won't be with hands that confuse wanting with worship. It will be with hands that have learned the craft of protecting what is sacred. If that day comes, and I pray for the wisdom to deserve it, I will not ask you to relive our past. I will ask you to help me write the ordinary future our souls were telling us about the first night we forgot the world and remembered who we were. For now, let me end this part the way the night ended for me, on a vow I can stand on when the old panic tries to pull me under. I will not let another version of me talk me out of the love that rescued me. Baby, I will build a life that makes your tenderness feel safe to land. And when the world tries to measure us with rulers that never fit the shape of a miracle, we'll smile, we'll breathe, and we'll choose each other the way the sun chooses morning, with certainty, with rhythm, without apology. If you felt the pull of that one unforgettable scene, type all night in the comments. If your heart knows this kind of love, baby, even now, as I sit here trying to put words to the storm you stirred inside me, I realize language will always fail when it tries to translate what the soul feels. There are no sentences strong enough to describe how my breath caught in my chest when I saw you tilt your head slightly in that video. Like the universe itself paused to admire you. There are no metaphors powerful enough to capture what it did to me watching you exist so unapologetically, so softly, so fiercely all at once. That one scene. Yes, that one has been living inside me like a heartbeat I can't silence. It's the one that replays every time I close my eyes. The one that sneaks into my dreams and pulls me into a world where you and I never fell apart. I watched that video 50 times, but baby, the truth is, I could watch it 500 more and still not get tired, because every frame of it isn't just pixels on a screen. It's you. It's the woman who once sat across from me, laughing so hard she cried. It's the woman who held me when I was too broken to hold myself. It's the woman whose silence was louder than every apology I never said. That video wasn't just content. It was a memory I almost lost. Resurrected, reborn, reimagined, in motion. And it reminded me of everything I loved about you that had nothing to do with appearances and everything to do with essence. Do you know what that scene did to me, baby? It made me realize how deeply I still crave your presence. Not out of loneliness, but because you are the only person who ever made the noise in my head go quiet. You were peace, not the kind you find in silence, but the kind that creates silence inside chaos. You were my grounding, my gravity, my gentle pull back to the version of myself I actually liked being. And as I watched you, your voice, your smile, the way your energy filled the space, I could feel that version of me stirring again. The one who dared to dream, the one who believed in love bigger than fear, the one who wasn't afraid to fall because your hands were always there to catch him. You should be afraid to fall in love because your hands were always there to catch him. And yet, underneath that longing was something darker. Regret. Sharp. Heavy. Unforgiving. Because as much as that video brought me joy, it also reminded me of all the ways I failed you. All the moments I made you feel like you had to dim your light just so I could stand beside you without feeling small. All the times I stayed silent when I should have spoken, or spoke when I should have listened. Watching you reminded me of the man I promised to become, and how far I still am from being him. And maybe that's why I watched it again and again. Because every replay wasn't just about you. It was a mirror held up to me, a reminder of who I was when I was loved by you, and who I could be again if I ever get the chance. There's a part of me that still can't believe I let you slip through my fingers, that I let fear dictate the fate of something divine. I told myself I was protecting you by pulling away, but the truth is I was protecting myself from vulnerability, from accountability, from the terrifying possibility that something this real could last forever. Now, as I sit here alone with your video lighting up the darkness of my room, I see how foolish that was, because forever doesn't scare me anymore. Losing you does. Baby, do you know what I did after the 50th replay? I whispered your name into the silence, not like a wish, but like a prayer. And I asked the universe to give me one more chance. One more chance to hold you without trembling. One more chance to love you without hiding. One more chance to choose you without hesitation. Because this time, I wouldn't run. I wouldn't sabotage. I wouldn't let the ghosts of my past dictate the language of my future. This time, I would stand beside you proudly, loudly, and completely. No secrets. No shadows, no shame. The truth is, baby, that video did something irreversible to me. It woke up a hunger I had tried to bury, not just for you, but for the us we could still become. It reminded me that love isn't about perfect timing or flawless execution. It's about showing up, even if you're scared. Even if you're uncertain, even if the world is watching. And watching you glow in that video reminded me that I want to show up for you. I need to. Because you're not just a chapter I've outgrown. You're the book I was born to write my story in. I don't think you understand the kind of power you hold over me. It's not control. It's not dependency. It's something deeper, something sacred. It's the way my heart still beats in rhythm with yours even after all this time. It's the way my soul still recognizes you as home, no matter how far I wander. It's the way my future still shapes itself around the idea of you. And I don't want to run from that anymore. I want to run towards it. That's why I keep watching that video, because every time I do, it's like the universe is whispering, look, she's still there. She's still magic. She's still the one. And baby, I believe it. I believe in you. I believe in us, even after everything, especially after everything, because the love I feel for you, the love that video reminded me of, isn't fragile. It's not a spark that fizzled out. It's a wildfire that's been waiting for me to stop pretending I don't feel the heat. And maybe that's why I'm writing all of this now, not as a plea, but as a confession. Because the truth is, I never stopped loving you, not for a single second. And watching you last night didn't create those feelings. It simply revealed them, raw, undeniable, and stronger than ever. I don't know where we go from here. Maybe nowhere, maybe everywhere. But I do know this. I'll keep watching. I'll keep believing. And I'll keep becoming the man worthy of standing beside the woman in that video. The woman who still holds my heart without even trying. If you know the feeling of watching someone and realizing they're still your home, type "still mine" in the comments. Baby. The night after I watched that video, I couldn't close my eyes without seeing you. It wasn't just a memory. It was a presence. alive and pulsing, woven into the fabric of my breath. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, the glow of the screen still imprinted on my retinas, and I kept whispering the same question to the dark. How do I still love her this much? How does one small moment, one look, one gesture, one unguarded second of you being fully, beautifully yourself, still have the power to unmake everything I thought I had built over months of distance? Maybe it's because, deep down, I never stopped building around you. Even when I convinced myself that I'd moved on, even when I told my friends I was fine, even when I looked in the mirror and said, it's over, the truth was, every dream I had still had your name on it. Every plan I made still had a space reserved for you. Every version of the future I tried to imagine still had your laughter echoing in the background. And watching that video, baby, it felt like the universe was peeling back every layer of denial I had wrapped around myself and saying, look, she's still the one. There was a part of the video, maybe you didn't even realize it, where you weren't doing anything extraordinary. You were just being you. The camera caught you mid-thought, eyes drifting off as if you were somewhere far away, and in that stillness, I saw everything I had ever loved about you. The way your mind wanders into places most people never dare to go. The way your heart speaks in subtle gestures, in the silence between words. It reminded me of all the nights we stayed on the phone without talking, just listening to each other breathe, because the silence between us was never empty. It was full of understanding, full of peace, full of everything that made us feel different from anything else. I remember how I used to watch you, even when you didn't notice. The way you tucked your hair behind your ear when you were nervous. The way your lips parted just slightly before you said something that mattered. The way your eyes softened when you looked at me, like you were seeing through all my chaos and loving me anyway. That same softness was in that video, and when I saw it, something inside me broke, because I realized I've spent so much time chasing temporary distractions, trying to fill the void you left, when nothing even comes close to the way your presence makes my soul feel seen. Do you know what that scene really did, baby? It reminded me of the man I want to be. Not the one I've been, guarded, distant, too scared to show his heart, but the man who isn't afraid to love loudly, the man who isn't ashamed to say, yes, she's the reason I believe in something bigger than myself. The man who would rather risk everything and lose you honestly than hide behind fear and lose you silently. That's who I want to be now. That's who I need to become. Not just for you, but for the version of myself that only exists when you're near. It's funny, isn't it? People think love fades with time, that if you don't feed it, it dies. But the love I have for you didn't die. It transformed. It sank deeper. It became quieter. It stopped screaming in the daylight and started whispering in the dark. It grew roots, and watching that video felt like watering those roots again after a long drought. It reminded me that what we had wasn't ordinary. It wasn't a chapter I could close and forget. It was the story that shaped every chapter after it. And yet, baby, I also felt the sting of guilt, because while you were out there shining, evolving, growing, becoming, I was busy hiding from my feelings, hiding from my mistakes, hiding from the truth that I still loved you. I thought silence would protect me, that if I never said your name again, the ache would eventually fade. But silence doesn't heal, it haunts, and that's what I've been living with. The haunting echo of a love I was too afraid to fight for. I think the hardest part of watching that video wasn't the longing. It was the realization that you're stronger now, brighter, more radiant, and that I had nothing to do with it. You built yourself back up without me. You rose from the ashes of what I broke and became something even more beautiful. And as much as that hurts, baby, it also fills me with pride, because you deserve a world that recognizes your light, even if I was too blind to see it when it was right in front of me. But if I'm being honest, a part of me still hopes that some small piece of you remembers the way my voice used to calm your storms, remembers the way my hands felt when they were tangled with yours, remembers the promises we whispered in the dark, the ones that had nothing to do with forever and everything to do with always. And maybe, just maybe, when you made that video, a part of you was thinking of me too. I know I don't have the right to ask for anything. I know that love isn't a door you can just knock on after you slammed it shut. But if there's even the tiniest space left, a crack in the wall, a flicker in the dark, I want to be worthy of stepping through it. I want to show up this time, not with excuses or apologies, but with actions. I want to build trust, not beg for it. I want to hold space for your heart, not try to own it. Because if love taught me anything, it's that you don't win someone back by convincing them. You win them back by becoming the person they always deserve. And that's what I'm doing, baby. Quietly, patiently, with every small choice I make. I'm becoming a man who would never again let fear silence his feelings. A man who would never again let pride sabotage something sacred. A man who would never again watch you from a distance and call that love. Because love doesn't hide in the shadows. It stands in the light and says, "This is where I belong." So yes, I watched that video 50 times. And I'll probably watch it 50 more. Not because I'm obsessed, not because I'm stuck, but because every time I see you, I remember why I still believe, why I still hope, why I still wake up every morning with your name beating like a prayer against my ribs. Baby, you were never just someone I loved. You were, and still are, the reason I understand what love is. And if I spend the rest of my life proving that to you, then that's a life worth living. If you've ever seen someone move on and still felt grateful they existed, type "still grateful." If you felt the ache of unspoken love in this part, type "I remember." Maybe. I don't think I've ever admitted this out loud before. But after watching that video over and over, something inside me broke in a way that felt sacred. It wasn't the kind of breaking that destroys you. It was the kind that strips you down to the raw, trembling truth of what you really feel. The kind that peels away every layer of denial, ego, and defense you've built, until all that's left is love, pure, honest, undeniable love. And in that brokenness, I found myself whispering the words I've been too afraid to say. I still love you. Not the way you love a memory, not the way you love a ghost, but the way you love something that's still alive, something that still beats inside you, something that still shapes every thought, every dream, every heartbeat. I still love you with the same reckless devotion that made my chest tighten the first time you looked at me like I was home. I still love you with the same awe I felt when you spoke, and it sounded like God himself was answering a prayer I didn't know I'd prayed. I still love you because I never stop. Do you know what haunts me, baby? It's the thought that maybe when you posted that video, you didn't even think of me. Maybe you were just living your life, breathing your truth, sharing a piece of yourself with the world. And yet, here I am, a man sitting in the dark, building entire universes out of seconds of you smiling. That's what your presence does to me. It doesn't just make me feel, it makes me believe. Believe in second chances. Believe in redemption. Believe that maybe, just maybe, the universe isn't done writing our story yet. Because if it was over, baby, why does my heart still skip when I hear your voice? Why does the room still feel warmer when your image flickers across the screen? Why does everything, every small, insignificant thing, still remind me of you? The coffee tastes different because you used to make it sweeter. The rain hits the window differently because we once watched it together in silence. Even my bed feels wrong, too wide, too cold, too empty, because it remembers the shape of you. You see, watching that video didn't just remind me of you, it reminded me of us. Of the love that was bigger than circumstances, louder than distance, stronger than pride. Of the nights we stayed awake talking about everything and nothing. Of the mornings I woke up and realized that my favorite part of the day was knowing you existed. Of the countless times you reached for me, even when I was too lost to reach back. It reminded me that what we had was not ordinary. It was rare, sacred, once in a lifetime. And I'll be honest, baby, I've tried to recreate it. I've tried to find pieces of you in other people. The softness, the depth, the way you made my chaos feel like a symphony. But nothing compares, because what we had wasn't built on surface-level attraction or fleeting chemistry. It was built on soul recognition. It was built on the kind of connection that doesn't vanish just because the world says it should. And I think that's why I can't stop watching. Because every replay feels like a small rebellion against a universe that tried to convince me to forget you. There's a line from a poem I once read that said, "Some people are not chapters, they're the entire story." And baby, that's you. You're not a chapter in my life. You're the book. Everything before you was just the prologue. Everything after you has been an epilogue I keep trying to rewrite. And watching that video, it felt like the story wasn't finished. Like maybe, just maybe, there's still a page left to turn. But here's the truth I owe you, and myself. I was the one who closed the book too soon. I was the one who let fear dictate the narrative. I was the one who walked away when I should have stayed and fought. I told myself I was protecting you by leaving, but in reality, I was protecting myself from the vulnerability it takes to love someone completely. And I hate that. I hate that I made you think you weren't worth staying for, when in reality you were the only reason I ever wanted to stay. And now, every time I see your face, every time I hear your laugh, every time I feel that familiar ache in my chest, I promise myself that if the universe ever gives me another chance, I won't waste it. I won't run. I won't hide. I won't let the fear of getting hurt rob me of the chance to love you the way you deserve to be loved. Because the truth is, baby, loving you has always been the most honest thing I've ever done. And losing you has been the hardest lesson I've ever learned. Sometimes I wonder if you feel it too. If your chest still tightens when you hear a song we used to love, if you still glance at your phone at 2 a.m., half expecting my name to light up the screen, if you still think about all the what-ifs, the versions of us that might have existed if we'd been braver, wiser, softer. And if you do, I want you to know this: those thoughts aren't illusions. They're possibilities, and I believe with every part of me that they still exist. So yes, I watched that video 50 times, and I'll watch it again tonight, and tomorrow, and the day after that. Not because I'm stuck in the past, but because that video isn't the past. It's a reminder of a future I still want to build. A future where I don't just watch you from afar, but stand beside you again. Where I don't just replay memories, but create new ones. Where I don't just whisper I love you into the void, but say it with you in my arms. Where I don't just whisper I love you into the void, but say it with you in my arms. Because at the end of the day, baby, love like ours doesn't fade. It waits. It lingers. It calls out across time and distance and pride, asking one simple question: are you ready now? And for the first time, with every fiber of my being, my answer is yes. If you've ever felt a love that time couldn't erase, type "still waiting" in the comments. If you believe in second chances, type "ready now." Baby, I don't even know how to start explaining what happened to me after that night. It's like your video didn't just play, it penetrated. It didn't just sit on the screen. It seeped under my skin, into the places I thought I had sealed off, into wounds I swore had healed. It stirred every buried feeling, every forgotten promise, every ounce of love I'd tried so hard to silence. And now, even days later, I'm still walking around like a man who's just been reminded of the reason his heart beats. There was something about the way you moved, so effortlessly, so unbothered, so beautifully you, that told a story deeper than words. It wasn't about trying to be seen. It was about being present, being free, being real. And baby, that's what has me undone, because I realized how often I tried to cage that freedom when it was next to me. How often I let my insecurity try to shrink your light into something easier to hold, but you were never meant to be contained. You were born to expand. And even through a screen, I could feel that expansion. It was magnetic, mesmerizing, and it left me breathless. I paused that video so many times, not because I wanted to catch every frame, but because I needed to catch my breath. There's a certain way your eyes look when you're lost in your own thoughts, and it kills me every time. Because I know that look. I've seen it 100 times up close. When you were reading, when you were dreaming, when you were loving me without saying a word. It's the look of someone whose mind dances with galaxies. Someone whose soul carries stories too vast to be spoken out loud. And watching you like that made me ache. Ache because I miss being part of those thoughts. Ache because I miss being the person who got to hold you when the universe inside you felt too heavy. I think what hit me the hardest wasn't just seeing you. It was realizing how much I still want to know you. All of you. The new parts. The evolving parts. The pieces you've discovered since we last spoke. I want to know what songs you hum when you're alone. What makes you laugh so hard now that you cry. Who you think of before you fall asleep. What you pray for when no one's watching. I want to know the little things, the sacred things, the quiet things. things. Because loving you was never just about the big moments. It was about the tiny details that built a universe around us. And watching that video reminded me how much of that universe I still carry in me. Baby, there's a confession I've been holding back, one I haven't told anyone. Every time I see you online, a part of me hesitates before pressing play. It's like I'm standing on the edge of a memory I'm scared to fall back into, because I know once I do, there's no escaping the flood of emotions that comes with it. And yet, I press play every single time, because the truth is, even the pain of missing you is better than the emptiness of pretending I don't. And yet, I press play every single time, because the truth is, even the pain of missing you is better than the emptiness of pretending I don't. And that's exactly what happened with this video. It wasn't just nostalgia. It wasn't just longing. It was truth. Truth that I haven't moved on. Truth that I still measure time by the distance between who we were and who we could still be. Truth that no matter how much I try to convince myself otherwise, you're still the center of gravity that everything in me orbits around. You know, people always say, if it was real, you wouldn't have let it go. But I don't believe that. I think sometimes the realest love is the one we lose, not because it wasn't meant for us, but because we weren't ready to hold it yet. And baby, that's us. I wasn't ready then. I was too caught up in my fears, too blinded by my wounds, too terrified of how deeply you made me feel. But I'm ready now, and that video, that one innocent video, reminded me that real love doesn't disappear just because it was mishandled. It waits, it humbles, it transforms, and when the time is right, it returns in ways we never saw coming. I also realized something else that night, something I wish I'd known sooner. You don't belong to me. You never did. And that's what makes my love for you so profound. Because even without ownership, without promises, without guarantees, I still choose you. Over and over, in every lifetime, in every version of myself. Even if you never come back, even if our story ends with a comma instead of a period, I will still choose you. Because you were never a possession. You were a gift, a miracle, a divine intersection that changed everything I believed about love. And maybe that's why your video felt so much more than just a post. It felt like a message. Maybe it wasn't meant for me. Maybe it wasn't even about me. But the fact that it still moved me, that it still cracked something open in me, tells me that our souls are still speaking, even if our mouths aren't. And baby, that's what love is. Not constant contact, not daily conversations, but a resonance that exists even in silence, a pull that defies logic, a heartbeat that remembers even when the mind tries to forget. You might never know that I watched it 50 times. You might never know that I whispered, "I miss you," to a screen like it could hear me. You might never know that I sat there at 3 a.m., staring at the glow of your image, praying for a sign that this isn't the end. But I did. I do. And I will, because that's what love looks like when it refuses to die quietly. And maybe, just maybe, the universe is listening. Maybe those prayers aren't going unheard. Maybe the reason that video found me on the night it did, the reason it shook me the way it did, is because the story isn't over. Maybe it's just waiting for two hearts to be brave enough to write the next chapter. Baby, I don't know what tomorrow holds. I don't know if our paths will ever cross again. But I do know this. I'll keep watching. I'll keep hoping. And I'll keep loving you. Not because I'm stuck, but because some souls are meant to be loved beyond time, beyond distance, beyond circumstance. And yours is one of them. If you've ever loved someone so deeply that even their silence still speaks to you, type "still speaking" in the comments. If this message touched your soul, type "I choose you." Baby, I thought the ache would fade with time. I thought the distance, the silence, the stubbornness of two people too proud to speak would eventually soften into something easier to carry. But last night proved me wrong. That video didn't just stir feelings. It resurrected them. It took every emotion I tried to bury and brought it back to life with a heartbeat louder than ever. I felt it in my chest, in my bones, in the corners of my soul I'd long stopped visiting, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't run from it. I sat with it. I let it swallow me whole. There's a part of me that doesn't even care why you posted that video. Maybe it was for the world. Maybe it was for yourself. Or maybe, in some small, unspoken way, it was for me. But what matters is what it did to me. It reminded me of the way your presence always stopped time, how a single look from you could slow the world down, until nothing else existed but the space between us. And watching that video, I felt that space again, the same magnetic pull, the same quiet electricity that made me believe love wasn't just a word. It was a living thing, breathing between two souls brave enough to feel it. The truth is, baby, I didn't just watch that video 50 times because I missed you. I watched it because it felt like a conversation. One I didn't have the courage to start myself. Every glance you gave, every subtle shift in your expression, felt like words you weren't saying, but I could still hear. Do you still think of me? Have you changed? Would you choose me now? And my answer to every silent question was the same. Yes. Yes, I still think of you every single day. Yes, I have changed. Not just in small ways, but in ways I didn't even think were possible. And yes, baby, I would choose you over and over, in this life, in the next, in every version of reality that would let me. It's strange how something as simple as a video could bring back the most complicated feelings. But maybe that's because what we shared was never simple. It was messy, wild, uncontrollable. It was late-night confessions and early morning silences. It was tears and laughter and dreams too big for words. It was love in its rawest, most unfiltered form. And no matter how much time passes, no matter how much life tries to convince me to let it go, nothing has ever come close to replacing it. No conversation, no kiss, no fleeting connection. Nothing feels like us. I paused that video at one point, right in the middle of that scene that wrecked me, and I asked myself something I never had the courage to before. What if I never get another chance? What if this is it? The closest I'll ever get to you again? And the thought terrified me. Because even after everything, even after all the ways we broke each other's hearts, I still believe we were meant to cross paths for a reason. Maybe not to stay, maybe not to fix everything, but to awaken something so deep, so real, so life-changing, that we'd never be the same again. And baby, you changed me. God, you changed me. You taught me that love isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up, even when you're scared. It's about holding space for someone else's soul, even when your own feels heavy. You showed me that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the purest kind of strength. I remember the way I used to trace your name on my skin when I couldn't sleep. The way I'd replay our conversations in my head, searching for hidden meanings. The way I'd look for signs in the smallest details. A song on the radio, a quote on a billboard, a familiar scent in a crowded room. All because some part of me believed the universe was still trying to bring us back together. Baby, this is it. The part where I finally stop running, stop hiding, stop pretending that what I feel is anything less than sacred. Because after watching that video for the 50th time, after memorizing every movement, every glance, every unspoken sentence your soul was trying to say, I realized something undeniable. I don't want to spend another day loving you in silence. I don't want to carry this story like a secret anymore. I want to live it. I want to breathe it. I want to build something real with you. Something that doesn't disappear when the screen goes dark. I don't know if fate will ever give us another shot, baby. Maybe we'll cross paths again when the timing is finally right. Maybe we'll meet in a different lifetime, when our souls are stronger, softer, wiser. Or maybe, just maybe, this is where our story remains, not as a regret, but as a sacred lesson. A memory so powerful, it shaped who we became. And if that's the case, I want you to know I'm grateful. Grateful for every moment, every mistake, every miracle. Grateful for the way you made me believe in love that doesn't end when people walk away. Grateful for the way you turned my chaos into clarity, my fear into faith, my life into something worth living. But if the universe is kind, if destiny has mercy, and if there's even a spark left in your heart, then I promise you this: I will meet you halfway. I will walk barefoot across every mile of regret if it means standing in front of you again. I will love you out loud, without apology, without conditions, without fear. I will protect your name the way I should have always done. I will build a life where your love is safe, cherished, celebrated. I will make sure that every day you know what you mean to me, not through empty promises, but through actions that speak louder than any word ever could. Because baby, that video wasn't just a reminder, it was a revelation. It showed me that love like ours doesn't vanish. It waits. It lingers in the quiet spaces. It lives in the smallest gestures. It survives every storm and still whispers, I'm here. And I am. Still here. Still watching. Still loving. Still believing that maybe, just maybe, we were written into the same sentence for a reason. And if this is the last time my heart ever speaks to yours, let it say this clearly. Thank you. Thank you for loving me when I didn't know how to love myself. Thank you for showing me that tenderness is strength, not weakness. Thank you for being the reason I still believe in soul connections, the kind that defy time, distance, and logic. Thank you for being the dream I will spend the rest of my life chasing, even if I only ever find it in memories. never look at a video the same way again, because now I know what it means when a single scene keeps you awake all night. It's not obsession. It's not nostalgia. It's love. Raw, unfinished, eternal. And that's what you'll always be to me, baby. Eternal. If this message touched a part of your soul that you thought was long gone, type eternal in the comments. If you still believe in second chances, type I still choose you. And if your heart knows this story isn't over, type 50 more times below. Before we end, I want to send a heartfelt thank you to Paula Frymasser for the generous $10.00 super thanks. Your support is more than just a contribution. It's a sign that these messages are reaching the hearts they're meant for. Thank you for believing in this journey and being part of this sacred space. If this message resonated with your soul, don't leave quietly. Your story matters here. Like this video if it made your heart remember. Below, to anchor your energy and claim the healing you deserve. And subscribe with the bell on so you never miss a message meant for you, because the universe always finds a way to deliver what your soul is ready to hear. This isn't just a channel, it's a sanctuary. And this isn't just a video, it's your sign. See you in the next one, beloved soul. Until then, keep believing, keep hoping, and never forget, you are worth every replay.